The entire secret of making any mental mass vanish is to re-evaluate its importance to present-time realities to the point where it is considered so trivial that there is no longer any need to keep it in existence, at which moment the mass can be easily not known and will promptly vanish. While the mass is considered important, it will continue in existence, and the being will continue to know it, even though trying desperately to not know it. To try and vanish by means of force a mass while still holding the consideration that it is important is thus the height of stupidity, and can only lead to frustration and failure. The assignment of the consideration of unimportance to a mental mass after having considered the mass important is merely an attempt to devalue it, and is just another method of attempting to vanish it by means of force. Hence, we have no need to consider the subject of unimportance. How does this resolve? Simple. It is the re-evaluation of past importances that is the only step required to achieve the vanishment of any mental mass. That's how the job is done. We have a being who can look at scenes. He can look at now scenes and he can look at then scenes. If then seems less real than now, it is only because the being has made it so. A being can only communicate across a distance. He cannot communicate through time. So, when he is looking at a then, he is looking at it now. Whatever he looks at now. A being can view now from any viewpoint. A being can view then from any viewpoint. Thus, every moment in time is a complete universe which is viewable to the being. Viewpoint here is used in the sense of a position from which to view, and not in the sense of holding a mental opinion. Thus, a being is natively capable of viewing every particle that has ever been brought into existence in this or any other universe from any viewpoint he so desires. He is also natively capable of taking any of these particles back out of existence again if he so desires. Any changes you bring about, whether changes in then or changes in now, you bring about now. So any changes you make to then, later than when the event occurred, will not, because of that, produce changes in now. Thus, what is called the time paradox is exposed for the lie that it is. The assignment of importance to a thing or class of things automatically assigns importance to the opposite or absence of those things. Thus, if life is considered important, then death, the absence of life, has also been granted importance. If the concept of self is considered important, then the concept of not-self is thereby also granted importance. The evaluation of things one against the other is achieved by the noting of differences and similarities between them. Evaluation is easiest when the two things are placed side by side in the same moment of time. Therefore, a then importance and a now importance are best evaluated when viewed simultaneously in the same moment of time, now. The general action of simultaneously viewing a then and a now scene is called time-breaking. The name derives from the fact that the action of time-breaking breaks the temporal separation of then and now, and thus removes the command power over the being of the past scene, so time-broken. The ability to time-break is native to the being, but, due to the compulsive games condition the being is in regarding his past, the ability has been to a greater or lesser degree lost, and for many will have to be learned again almost from scratch. There are exercises to improve the ability. Time-breaking is the basis of all psychotherapy. When the patient tells his therapist of some past happening, he is time-breaking the happening. For the therapist and the incident are thus brought into the same moment in time, now. However, a being can learn to time-break solo, and thus dispense with the need for a separate therapist. A separate therapist is only required until such time as the patient is confident that they can do the job alone. From the viewpoint of the therapist, it's a matter of helping another until such time as they are capable of helping themselves, and all assistance should be given with this view in mind. Any other approach, although undoubtedly good for business, is just not in the best interest of the patient. Due to the nature of the compulsive games conditions between a being and his past, the more he is willing to time break it, the less he has to time break. Very soon he is left with nothing to time break, and has to actively stimulate the past if he wishes to continue. He soon goes from the cringing victim, afraid to tamper with his mind, to the triumphant victor pursuing the remnants wherever he can find them. Time-breaking is the main activity of TROM therapy. One begins to learn it on level 2 of TROM, and by the time one finishes level 3, one has mastered it, and continues to time-break on the more advanced levels 4 and 5.